one of the big things that I'm a huge believer of is local community support, right? So we really want, for example, advisors and affiliates to be able to look at this as a great solution for their own communities, right? And for their own clients as well. Because one of the things that I feel really strongly about is that you should be able to build, I don't know what the right word is, maybe equity, but you should be able to get rewarded not only for the work that you are doing today, winning an employer account, right, being able to provide them benefits, but then what if that employee leaves that employer? What if that employer decides, oh, I no longer am going to provide healthcare benefits, right? What happens to all of that work, that sweat equity that you had put in, right? In our ecosystem, as long as the member, as an individual, regardless of their employer status, as long as they continue to use, buy package, obtain services, right, stays engaged with this really, in my opinion, the best way to interface with healthcare, right? You, as the introducing affiliate advisor, are going to continue getting, your share of the, of our service fees that we collect, right? So I think so. It's really important to kind of build sort of a roster, I guess, of lifetime individuals that
Sure.
you can benefit from.
Welcome to the Rockstars Rocking Podcast, powered by Voluntary Disruption, a show dedicated to people who are crushing their business and life goals. These are bite-sized conversations with leading rock stars in their respective industry who are pumped to share their story to help drive you to the next level. So, are you ready to rock? Speaking of rock stars, here's your host, Eric Silverman.
Hey, rock stars, welcome back to another episode of Rockstars Rocking. And you know it, I only have the finest, the most incredible rock stars doing so very well in their personal life, their business life. They're crushing their goals. They're starting companies. They're growing companies. And look, today, my goodness, you are in for a treat. Today is no exception. Everybody, please meet and welcome my good friend Jawad Arshad, founder and CEO of Wow Health Solutions. What's up, Jawad? How we doing, man?
Oh, it's great, Eric. Thank you so much for the opportunity, man.
Oh man, I am so fired up to chat with you, and I'm really excited for our listeners to learn about you and more so the incredible product that you've built, really from the ground up. So I'm not going to give away all the secrets. I'll let you share your story. But a lot of folks listening may, frankly, or may not have heard of Wow Health. They may or may not have met you or heard of you yet. So to start, you are an actual licensed MD. You're a doctor, and you practiced, I believe, emergency medicine for more than 20 years or so. Can you kind of give us a background on yourself at a high level before we get into how you transitioned into founder, entrepreneur, tech startup?
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Thank you so much. And so I'm an emergency physician by training. I say, right. I did my training at Henry Ford in Detroit, and then I sort of did obviously clinical work, but then also administratively got involved. I was the director of the emergency department, and then in that vein, I've been lucky enough to hold every imaginable spot in an emergency department administration structure. But I think what became really clear to me over 15 years of working in a large system was that we weren't really addressing the delivery of care problem, right? And what that means to me really is that we weren't really bringing any visibility or control to the consumer. And so about 5 years ago, I said goodbye to a corporate job, and much to the chagrin of my family at times, and decided to start a clinic, which really was my first foray into community medicine. Really gave me a good understanding of what goes on right in that doctor-patient relationship, where you are the patient is really responsible for paying that bill, or the employer is, and how blind they really are, right? And that was really sort of the nidus. That was really the thought that brought Wow Health into existence.
So wow. So you wow, that was not on purpose,
Yeah.
but that works perfect, right?
Yeah, right.
So you practicing medicine, emergency medicine for quite a while. I know you told me offline you went to Syracuse, you studied at Henry Ford. I love how you talk about how you noticed over the years there was a delivery of care problem and how you wanted to solve for that problem, and talk about guts, right? And I can totally appreciate what your family said. I mean, you're leaving this corporate America job to go start a clinic, to be out on your own, to live the American dream, to be an entrepreneur, own and run your own business. But that was not too far in the distant past, right? You said it was just, what, 5 years ago or so?
Yeah, that was just about 5 years ago that it really started to look into the delivery of care and how benefits are brought on. We had our own employees, right,
Sure.
at the clinic, and I think that was another great learning, right? So we weren't only providers, but I was also an employer, right? And when I was looking at our employee benefit options, there was a lot that was left to be desired.
Sure.
We provided a great gold plan through Blue Cross, for our employees. And about 2 years into it, we decided that, the premium keeps going up. About only 3/4 of our employees actually elect to take it, and we were paying 80% of the premium, right? So we were on the richer side.
That is rich, yeah.
But still, 1/4 of them were declining. So we were at a staff meeting, and I said, hey, what if we dropped our employer benefits and we just gave everyone, $400 a month, right? And you go do whatever you want with it, right? And I was really shocked because everyone sort of raised their hand. They were like, yeah, we're in. So even those who were getting their benefits through us, obviously we're going to find more value in us just giving them something, right? That was going to give them more control. And admittedly, we had a bit of a younger population, employer population. So, but still, I think that was really the aha moment, right?
So let me ask you on that, though. That's an excellent point. So you said to all your staff, I don't know how many people it was, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure it wasn't a ton of people. So you said to your staff, hey, we're just going to step out. We're just going to give you an extra $400 a month to do what you want with. So in essence, they could use that money as, dare I say, a pay raise of sorts. They could use that money to buy groceries. Hopefully, if they need and they're not covered by their spouse or their mom or dad, if they're younger, hopefully they're going to use that money to put towards some type of plan on their own. So the question is, you said everybody was excited about it, which is, I would have predicted actually on my side, but remember, I've been in benefits a lot longer than you.
Yeah.
So you said that they were excited about it. That doesn't surprise me. But here's the question. What did they do with the funding? So $400 a month, right? Over the course of the year, you're giving them a quite a large chunk of change. You're giving them almost $5,000 a year. Did you find that they use those funds for employee benefits, medical type insurance, or did they use it to plan a trip to Disneyland?
Yes. So, I mean, we came up with 400 because that's how much our share was ending up on the average. So that's how we came up with the number. But then, to your point, what we found is that it was kind of all over the place. We had about 15 employees total. So it wasn't, as you said, some large group or anything. We were just a couple of practices. And but what we did find was that when, for example, our office manager, she needed an MRI of her neck, she said she used that money, to go and pay for it and so on. And that's really, I think, what led to this idea of creating something where an employer can put in some amounts of monies that we're giving them a more defined benefit. Right. I think when we just, to your point, just threw like $400, I mean, we don't know exactly what everyone ended up doing right? We did hear every now and then that, oh, I went to see my doctor and, I paid for it. And, you kind of overhear it, them
Well, here,
discussing it.
but let's
We
dig
didn't really
deeper,
go there.
right? Yeah, but let's dig deeper because I think this is important. So you gave them a defined amount of money. So in the technical world, it's called a defined contribution. Anybody that knows me knows that I actually use the term shopping spree because they're getting money and they can use the money for anything they want. They're shopping in the insurance or employee benefit world. But here's the thing. Were you noticing, maybe this is what led, and I want to get to this. So maybe this led to Wow Health because were you noticing that employees were hopefully, I assume, trying to become, or maybe you were helping them become truly educated, better consumers of healthcare? So to use your example, you had one of your employees who she needed an MRI. We all know, and you can definitely attest to this, that if they go to the big, huge name brand hospital in their big city, it's going to be ridiculously expensive compared to if they go to an offsite space that only specializes in MRIs. And if they pay cash with no insurance, it's going to be a lot more affordable there. Were you helping or trying to help steer people in the right direction so they can better themselves as a consumer of healthcare, but certainly better use their funds?
Yeah, we absolutely were. I knew of imaging centers, and I actually did help her get to an imaging center, right, where she was able to pay direct. We had a few employees who were on medications, for example, and they started using GoodRx, for example, right, because they were paying still out of pocket,
Right.
So yeah, so to your point, I mean, that was definitely a great point of learning that when we made them consumers, they became really more educated and driven as well.
So, all right. So let's keep going. Let's keep moving. So now you're doing this, you're giving them the funds, you're running this clinic. It's growing. You're having success. You got 15 people. Do you just go to bed one night and you're taking a shower in the morning and, that's where people do their best thinking. And you just all of a sudden say, you know what? Forget this whole being a doctor thing. I'm just going to cave it in again. My family's going to love this. I'm going to go from corporate America to running my own clinic to, hey, now I'm going to start up a technology company. Like, where did that come from? It's so out of the blue.
It seems so, but I think, I always believe, I always think that, life is a journey, right? So it all kind of one step leads to the next. So we had a few employers in the area. We had a couple of trucking companies that were in the area as well. And they reached out to us. And because I had this idea that, hey, what if instead of them paying us sort of on a per use basis or a fee for service basis, what if we could have a DPC arrangement with them, right?
Sure.
And, so DPC wasn't quite as popular. They had never heard of it at that time either, but
most
they loved the idea.
At that point. Yeah. I mean, not then.
Yeah. And so they loved the idea. They were like, we'll pay like $50 for every one of our drivers, and they can, and we said, we were really low tech, right? So we said, hey, they can just FaceTime us if they're ever on the road, right? And otherwise, when they come in, they can stop in the clinic, they can get their blood pressure checked, get their labs, whatever. And in retrospect, I think, now when we see the pricing, we see $50 is actually pretty reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were all in. And then, there were a couple of other businesses in the area that also came in, and we were keeping track of everyone like on an Excel sheet, and that just became really difficult.
The tech guy telling me how tech savvy he was.
Yeah, so it really kind of grew from there, right? So we started getting a lot of people. We even had individuals who were signing up then, and that was really what led to the idea that, hey, we've got to have a better, more technically improved version of how we are providing this, because there's definitely a need for it.
So, all right. So you think you have a concept, you're proving out the concept, but really you're not in a bad way. This is, I wish, I can't wait for the day that DPC is even more relevant across the country. I mean, I'm in Maryland talking to you and I can just crap on my own state. DPC is very, very, very tiny. There's very few doctors and clinics and practices that are around because I've looked personally. I would love to have one, and I can't find one that's anywhere close to where I would ever need. But my point is, you could have just stuck with that. You could have grown that. You could have opened up another clinic in another location in your city, in your area. But what happened? And I guess does the clinic still exist? Did you sell it? Does it still operate? Like, tell me. Let's dig into how WOW started.
Yeah, so the clinic physically still exists. I sold the practice to another physician who perhaps was a bit more clinically oriented than I was,
Sure.
And I really started focusing on the software end of it, because I think what we were coming up against is, my feeling was that eventually these employers are going to say, well, what about services outside of these four walls? What if they need that MRI, right? What if they need labs that you guys are not doing on site? So we wanted to really start to think about, how do you bring in, and how do you allow a consumer, a patient, an employer to be able to interface with the larger health system? And then our goal was always volume, right? So if we could bring the volume, then you just pointed that out, right? You don't have a lot of direct primary cares in Maryland, because it's really difficult, right, to make that leap of faith in saying, I'm going to leave what I know, which is what fee-for-service employed model, and I'm going to allow employers or individuals to pay me directly in a membership model, right? I think it's just it's a bit of a leap, and because of that, you just don't see that. And I think you need a critical mass, right, before we can really make a meaningful change within our communities.
Look, I would agree, and when it comes to your technology, and I don't know how long it took you to really get it launched and proof of concept and created and built, but obviously it took time, and it certainly took a lot of investment on your part or whomever is helping. But now, I mean, for those listening here to Jawad, make sure you check out mywowhealth.com, mywowhealth.com. It's incredible. Like, the product makes sense, and where I've seen it, and you tell me if I'm wrong, where I've seen it get popular is with segments of the population around the country that may not be on the radar of a typical health advisor or broker to offer benefits, or to put together a ridiculously innovative solution. And there's multiple industries that this could apply to by far, but one that comes to mind that you and I have talked about is hospitality and restaurants, and folks that employ part-timers and seasonal folks and so forth. Maybe you can dig in a little bit about kind of like the elevator pitch, an extended version of WOW Health, and then also how it kind of fits nicely in specific industries.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing that we wanted to do was think about, what is it that an insurance plan brings to a consumer, right? And a lot of it gives some definition. These are the doctors you can go see. When you go see the doctor, you can show them a card and they'll see you, right? So it's really sort of more a permission to be seen, for lack of a better word, right? And so we wanted to kind of recreate that sense of comfort for our members. So, so you go into the app, you go on the website, you're going to see these doctors, right? We have over 350,000 medical practices listed, right? And so, yes, there may be others that you could go see as well, but here you can start here if you like, right? So I think that was creating that comfort. Second was then price point, right? If we are going to, like our 25% of our workforce, that despite us picking up 80% of the premium, wasn't able to afford the other 20%, then when we looked at hospitality, for example, especially your part-time workers, if you get them a benefit plan and you can be willing to pay even 90%, and I would argue that the other 10% may be a bridge too far for them, right? And then not to mention that that's just the premium, and then they're having to pay co-pays and deductibles, which is out of pocket anyways. So it's just not a service, it's not a benefit that they may really find much benefit from. Right, pun intended. So, so I think that was our goal, right? Is that we wanted to create an ecosystem where you could go in, you could very quickly and easily see all the providers that you could, get care from, but then keep it at a price point at $5 a month, for example, right? So that it's really something that even the employer may pick up because it's a low enough number, and it can help them with recruitment and retention, because as you know, most of these industries have a really high turnover rate too, right? So it could help the employer, it could help the employee, and really bring access.
So let's say I'm an employer, right? And again, I want to be crystal clear to our listeners. It's not only for hospitality and restaurant groups and so forth. It can be for literally any single industry in the world or in the country. But just again, picking on an industry, it's easy just to explain because it is certainly I don't want to say a problem child, but it's certainly an industry that causes a little bit of frustration and headache with advisors and brokers across the country because it's a little different. Hospitality, that is. So I'm a restaurant group or a hospitality group, hotel, whatever. I'm currently offering benefits. I know that they're subpar. How can I implement WOW Health? Or I guess a better question, you can answer that too, but another question would be, would this be in addition to their current major medical plan, or would it be in replacement, or could it be both? And again, I know the answers to these, some of them, but our audience doesn't. And I want you to be specific because this is important as they're looking for innovative new ideas going into the fourth quarter to better their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are all voluntary benefits, right?
Okay.
So that's one. So we're not pretending to be ERISA compliant or what have you. Now, when you look at a class of your employees, for example, part-timers, right, which is a huge percentage of the workforce, especially in the hospitality industry, just kind of sticking with that thought, right, then we know that they either don't qualify or once again, the benefit cost of a traditional benefit would be too high, right?
Sure.
And yet you do want to provide something because study after study has shown that, you know, employees really do care about healthcare benefits, right? After wages, it is the most sought after or the most important element that an employer can provide. So I think keeping that in mind as well. So we said, you know, what is the benefit of me having insurance? Well, I pay a copay, and then I usually pay a deductible, and you know, I end up paying maybe $100 for an office visit. So we said, you know, let's go to the providers and ask them, if we gave you $100 without you having to submit a claim or having to wait, you know, 4 to 6 weeks to be paid, would you take the $100? And the answer, of course, is yes, because that's what they're collecting even now. So it's sort of a, you know, this is easier, right? You don't have to submit a claim. You get paid at the time of service, and you are not making any less money, right? You're not collecting any less than what you are doing in your current setup. So it's sort of a, you know, triple win really for the provider to want to engage with that kind of a consumer. So I think so we wanted to build a plan that was really going to be meaningful at a price point that was going to be something that was affordable for such a large swath of our workforce.
So talk to me about the setup, okay? So again, I'm an employer. I know, and I can say it, but I want you to elaborate. I know as an employer, I would pay a base minimum per employee per month for a base package. So if you could describe what they're getting for that. And then ultimately, how you position, I don't know, for a lack of a better term, because it's voluntary, a voluntary buy-up of some sort, where they can add on at really a reasonable price, to be honest with you, to get things that they might already be accustomed to, and or that could greatly augment in a good way what they already have. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is, you know, we said, look, everyone who is looking for healthcare benefits wants to go see a doctor if the need be. Right? So we provide access to our in-person medical services, office visits, labs, and imaging, right? That kind of takes care of your baseline diagnostics and care. That's only $5 a month per employee. You can add family members on. They kind of get 50% discount for adding in any family members. Okay. Then you can buy up, right? And the employer can do the buy up, or what we actually find is most employers just allocate a fixed amount that's defined contribution into their VOW account and say, you go and do what you like. So for example, $5 a month, they can get a discount pharmacy program. Their blood pressure medications are usually in the $1 to $2 range, right? Or diabetic medications are going to be in the $3 to $4 range, okay? Someone who has high blood pressure, that aspect of the program may speak to them and would be important. However, if I don't have high blood pressure or diabetes, I don't take medications, it's not really a benefit that's really all that useful. I may want to spend my $5 given on a teletherapy program, right? Where mental health, as we know, is really important, right? So these are 50-minute online appointments with a therapist of your choice. Usually there are 5 to 10 for you to pick from in each state. Once again, all of our services are nationwide. Right?
Yeah, because it's nationwide because you're not actually insurance, right?
Exactly.
You're not an underwritten insurance carrier. You're not governed by those laws. You are a solution provider, no different than, and again, I'm not trying to disparage you, but no different than a broker who sells identity theft protection is not insurance, or a pet discount program is not, we're not talking about pet insurance. So anybody who, and we don't want this, trust me, but genuinely speaking, anybody can sell this and receive some compensation because it's not insurance and it's not designed that way, and and you're telling everybody that in the terms of use and so forth. And what I'm seeing, in my personal opinion, in the market is more and more things, for lack of a better word, that are not insurance, that are more a different type of benefit, a different type of way to look at it. Like, as an example, you have a situation, you have a package set up where, and again, it depends on what package, but on your website, you have packages set up where people can get a free visit, an office visit in a medical practice with an actual doctor included once a year, and they could have a free yearly mammogram once a year, and they can have a colonoscopy when they're starting at age 45, and there's some pediatric immunizations and things. These are all things that are included, no additional cost, with your monthly membership, I assume over and above the base level that the employer pays. But again, I believe it's a huge opportunity for advisors and brokers and consultants to really help a segment of the population within their book of business, Jawad. And also, quite frankly, if I'm not a traditional health broker, but if I was out there prospecting for new accounts, this could open up doors that you might have otherwise not had opened. Would you agree, hopefully, with much of what I just said?
No, you're absolutely right on, Eric. I mean, that's exactly how a lot of our, affiliates kind of position it, right? It's a starting point. It helps them kind of address that as segment of the employer's workforce that may be outside of a traditional plan. We see it being offered actually in addition to traditional plans. So we have an employer, for example, they provide healthcare benefits. Only about half of their employees take the healthcare like a traditional plan. And they were concerned because, as I say, a benefit not taken is a benefit not provided, right?
I like that. So, a benefit, editing team, don't forget that. A benefit not taken is a benefit not provided. We will keep that in. We're not going to edit it out, but that will make a great clip for letting people know about this awesome episode. Anyway, go ahead.
So, what they decided to do was they said, everyone is going to get our base package, right? We are going to pay for it. And then if you still want to get the traditional insurance plan, you still can. Obviously, the half of the workforce that wasn't, they felt was now being provided some benefit. And, we've gotten some great feedback from them, about just sort of the happiness on part of the employees. And,
So what's been your biggest challenge or struggle, I should say, in growing not launching the company? That's a struggle in and of itself. But now that you're launched, now that you have proof of concept, now that you have clients, you have paid customers and employer groups, like you guys are running and growing. What now is your biggest struggle as a tech entrepreneur?
Our biggest, I think, challenge right now is creating awareness, right?
Okay.
One of the big things that I'm a huge believer of is local community support, right? So we really want, for example, advisors and affiliates to be able to look at this as a great solution for their own communities, right? And for their own clients as well. Because one of the things that I feel really strongly about is that you should be able to build, I don't know what the right word is, maybe equity, but you should be able to get rewarded not only for the work that you are doing today, winning an employer account, right, being able to provide them benefits, but then what if that employee leaves that employer? What if that employer decides, oh, I no longer am going to provide healthcare benefits, right? What happens to all of that work, that sweat equity that you had put in, right? In our ecosystem, as long as the member, as an individual, regardless of their employer status, as long as they continue to use, buy package, obtain services, right, stays engaged with this really, in my opinion, the best way to interface with healthcare, right? You, as the introducing affiliate advisor, are going to continue getting, your share of the, of our service fees that we collect, right? So I think so. It's really important to kind of build sort of a roster, I guess, lifetime individuals that
Sure.
you can benefit from.
So like right on as an example, on the homepage of your website, the very first thing that pops up is how to find a specialty doctor, a service, a provider of some sort. So do you have any challenges getting more and more providers on the site? And what would be something that you want to, we have a vast audience. So anybody listening that might be a provider or might be some type of other solution, how can they help?
Yeah, so I mean, we always say, look, reach out to us, because even though we may have, 350,000 medical practices, there is nothing that says that, that's the end point, right? I mean, we can definitely add more. We can perhaps have providers, because we don't dictate pricing, Eric,
Sure.
right? You as a provider, you decide what you want to be paid. We are just going to let the consumer know what that is when you make the appointment. So, so I think, yes, it's an opportunity for us to keep growing our provider network, especially, bringing in other products that can lay in that could be a value add for the members as well. But yeah, I mean, from a provider standpoint, I think what we've done is we've built a critical mass so that our affiliates, our advisors, feel comfortable going to their clients, knowing that they are not putting a product in front of their client that isn't going to provide that critical mass that really is needed for effective healthcare and, of course, benefit.
So, I mean, you guys have a significant partnership with providers that most certainly people in the employee benefits and broker world, consultant world, have heard of. Like, yeah, it's all right on your website. I mean, you're set up with MeMD for telehealth. You're set up with our good friend, you and I, Dr. Kristen Dickerson at Green Imaging for radiology and so forth. One Dental, Zion Health, Drexy, my goodness, talk about a good one for PBM. Sedera. I mean, let me ask you this. Is there room to grow provider partnerships on your site and within the Wow Health ecosphere? Meaning, and I don't want to step on toes, but is there ever a day where you think you'll have more than one telemedicine and more than one imaging center and more than one PBM? Just because, again, there's so many out there, and you don't, I don't know, maybe you want to be aligned with at least a few of best in class.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we are totally open to this idea of adding more. All of our partners know that there's no exclusivity per se, right? Because at the end of the day, all we are doing is that we are the front face of an array, as you just pointed out, of incredible providers who provide services in different aspects of healthcare. What if we weren't there? Right now, you can certainly go to Dr. Dickerson's website and connect with them, or you could go to Drexy's website and be able to get a medical.
But Wow Health is aggregating it. You're making it simple, all in one.
Exactly.
You're taking the research away. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
With one account, you can interface with everyone, right? So I think that is our value add to this great direct pay community.
Well, listen, I have one more question, then I'll give it to you. Give it to you for a minute. See if there's anything you wanted to make sure you mention. But is it me? Am I crazy here, or could this be a way for a broker or an advisor or a consultant, depending on their title? Everybody uses a fancy title these days. Yeah. But is there a way for a health broker to use Wow Health as a way to make their business stickier? And what I mean is, look, I lost accounts. Nobody likes to brag about it. I've gained accounts. And if I gain an account, that means another broker probably lost an account, right? So it ebbs and flows. It goes back and forth when it comes to medical and ancillary and voluntary enhanced benefits and other things. But I kind of feel like once, I could be wrong, my thought is once an employer is in this system, this portal, this program, Wow Health Solutions, I feel like it's something that, assuming it's going to deliver on what it's supposed to do, and it does, I don't see why or how they would leave the system. So if I'm a broker and I have major medical and I have dental and I have traditional disability and life and all these other things, if I were to get replaced, right, because it happens, not much to me, but it does happen to people. Could Wow Health stay there potentially? And if so, would the broker or relationship that brought you to the dance, that brought you the group, is there a way for them to stay on the record or to continue to get paid in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where I was referencing that, as an advisor, as a broker, once you bring in an individual, right, they are tied to you for, not to make it so final, for life, right? Right, because as long as that individual stays in the system, and they spend money or get benefits or what have you, you will continue to keep getting compensated as well. From an employer standpoint, why is it that employers really leave or change their advisors or brokers? The number one thing is usually cost, right? It costs too much. Second, maybe that, the benefit that we're providing, no one's really taking it, right? We know statistically that healthcare benefits is the most sought after. So I think the second point is probably not as big a deal. And then as far as the first point, well, maybe I decide as an employer, like we did at our clinic, right, that we weren't going to provide healthcare benefits anymore. Well, if you were using Wow Health with us, you could have said, okay, no big deal. Continue to provide it. We just won't charge you anything. And even the $5 at that basic level that Mr. Employer you were paying, we can put that on the employee. So if an employee wants to use it, then they can pay the $5. And then if they don't, let's not close the accounts, right? It's almost like a, in social media, right? You never close your Google account. You may not use
pause it.
Yeah, you can pause it. Right? And then when and if the need comes up at a later stage in life, what have you, we can always reactivate it. They can always re-engage. So I think it's really a product that, depending on the situation, can be a zero cost even to the employer, just to keep them engaged today, because tomorrow's situation may change.
So, as we wrap up, I appreciate that. It just seems like such a freaking, no-brainer, because, if you take let's do the math, right? You're the doctor. You're smart. I'm not, but I used my calculator while you were talking. So full disclosure, $5 a month is $60 a year, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I want to take it further, because even $60 a year times 100 employees, it adds up, right? So I look at it from a different perspective. I was trained under the guidance of reduction to the ridiculous. So if you take $60 and forget the month, if you take $60 a year and you divide it up over 52 weeks a year, and then you divide it again with 40 hours a week for a full-time job.
Right.
Jawad, we're talking about 0.028. So we're talking about 3 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Literally 3 cents an hour. Mr. Employer, Miss Employer, you currently don't have benefits, or you agree your benefits are subpar. You agree that you need to attract and retain talent. You certainly agree that there's got to be a better way than a traditional fully insured medical plan, or in addition to that, or even a self-funded plan. Your average wage, again, maybe it's $22 an hour is an average wage. Maybe it's $14, maybe it's $12 an hour. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
3 cents, and I'm rounding up, 3 cents, 2.8 cents per hour. If you add that to everybody's pay, and again, humor me, I'm not talking about literally giving them 3 cents an hour. I'm just saying it's the equivalent of 3 cents an hour. So where can you, I mean, think about that for a second, everybody listening, right? And I get on my soapbox because I'm so passionate about it. I talk about it so often, but as a broker, as an advisor, as an employer, right? Where can an employer spend $60 a year, 3 cents an hour, and get the tremendous value and bang for the buck, loyalty and attracting and retaining people, and the perception that my boss cares? Where can you do that for 3 cents an hour? I would argue that employers should consider spending $10 a month, $120 a year. It's 6 cents, 6 cents an hour, and they can give their employees even more. But in the very minimum, 3 cents? Come on. 3 cents, really? Anyway, I'll come off my soapbox for you, as on your behalf, but the reality is it just seems like a no-brainer. I mean, maybe, am I missing anything as we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, and that's why I said, I think the value proposition is an absolute no-brainer. Where our challenge is, because I am not originally from the benefit community, although I would love to join the group.
Well, you're here. I've officially inducted you into the group. You are a member.
I truly appreciate it. Because, it's just to get the word out. I think that as you start looking into it, I mean, the thing that I have heard occasionally, is that it sounds a little too good to be true, right? And we tell them, look, if you want to sign up, download the app, we'll give you $50, right, in your account. Go spend it any which way you want, right? Go make the appointment with the doctor. Go get on medication. Go to your local pharmacy, right?
Test it.
Change the zip codes around and see, do they really have dentists in that location where my clients are? Because you can do all of that, right? And once you are convinced that, it's not just something that's in testing or something that, is in concept, that it really exists today, hopefully that's going to convince you, right? So I think that's really is our big challenge, and that's what we are really out here to do, right? Is to just make people aware, to your point. Less than 3 cents.
I like it. Everybody listening, check out mywowhealth.com. If you're not already connected with Jawad on LinkedIn, he's very active on LinkedIn. In fact, that's, he and I met at a conference, but really didn't have a chance to talk. And then we reconnected on LinkedIn and through email. And, before you know it, here we are. So connect with him. He's super social. He's looking to learn and grow. In fact, if you're, I hate the word demo. I think that's a negative word. What I would suggest is, and Jawad, you tell me if I'm wrong, but Jawad's still in the growth mode. He's still in the build stage there, and I haven't found any, I'm making this up, but heck, you could find a typo on his website. Like, this is, they've been vetting this. They've been putting this together. They have masterminds that are helping them, but they're they're not the size of Walmart yet. So as a broker, as an advisor, if you can appreciate a startup, somebody who's trying to do good, a doctor who's invested his money into starting a new business and putting it all on the line, connect with him and ask how you can help. Again, that doesn't mean you have to sell it. He knows that. That doesn't mean you have to do a demo, but maybe hop on a call and, do an individual focus group, right? Maybe just let him share what they do in detail, and then give your candid feedback. And by the way, Jawad, man, I got to imagine you're a big boy. If somebody tells you something you don't like, great. Like, the reality is you need feedback. You want to know what's on their mind and what they're seeing in the market. So hopefully I didn't just set you up for failure, but I think feedback is important.
No, not at all. And, I mean, to your point, actually, feedback, I think, is the most important, right? I mean, this is the only way. Along the way, we've benefited from the collective wisdom of so many who really were critical, right? Oh, no, this won't work. You guys are trying to do this. There aren't enough dentists on your network, right? Go and find some more, right? Go and fix this problem. Or you're not packaging it correctly, right? It's not easy enough for the consumer to understand, right?
Yep.
I think that you always, or you should, at least in my mind, always appreciate the criticism more than a compliment, right? Because the criticism is going to help us be better. And a compliment is going to make me feel better, but that's a fleeting feeling.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
No, thank you.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. You said it all. Everybody check out mywowhealth.com. Support a local community guy, a doctor. He did not have to leave his cushy, I don't know how cushy it is in the ER, but he didn't have to leave his quote unquote cushy job for where I'm sure he was being paid very well, because doctors are always in high demand. But he did so. He took a leap of faith, and that's, that's why you're on the show, man. Rockstars Rocking. You have an incredible story. Started it from nothing, and I'm rooting for you. I'm excited. So, and I'm going to start looking at it for my brokers and my clients. So, that's it. And look, I just show up and ask you some fun questions, and we have a good party here on the video. But I'd be nothing without my back office team, no different than you. So for everybody behind the scenes at the Rockstars Rocking podcast, I'm Eric Silverman. That, my friends, is and has been and always will be Jawad Arshad, CEO, founder of Wow Health Solutions, mywowhealth.com. And if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, please drop them in the comment section below. Connect with Jawad on LinkedIn. And as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Rockstars Rocking podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. 5 stars would totally rock. Until next time, Rockstars, keep rocking.